Well, first of all, I want to say I'm excited, I'm honored, and I'm very thankful to be on your show. Yes, when I was 58 and a half, I was really in the throes of the most important part of my career. I was really thriving as a surgeon, um, and I had an injury um, that I thought I would be back from in 4 to 6 months, but a year and a half later, I was still under treatment. So I knew that my career as a surgeon was most likely over. So the combination of not being in the operating room, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I assessed it later. Uh, I had been taking OxyContin for 2.25 years, and it basically became my brain neurotransmitter. And so when I uh, withdrew and I knew that I was physiologically no longer addicted to the OxyContin, I was emotionally and physically depleted and stagnant. I had absolutely no energy. And it led the combination of no longer being in the operating room, which I realized was my adult playground. It really stimulated my ego, my self confidence, my self esteem. Not having that and not having the understanding as I do now of how depleted my neurotransmitters were, I was in a pretty bad situation. I was depressed. I was in a state of darkness that I had never been in before. Everybody who knew me knew that I was always a go-getter. I was always full of tremendous enthusiasm, motivation, dedication, commitment, all that stuff. Nobody had to tell me to get it going. I was a very much a self-starter. So I found myself somewhere I'd never been before. I was very concerned. My wife was very concerned. And I was interacting with not only the doctors who were treating me, but some of my colleagues who, I was close with and trusted. And one of them was a gentleman of Chinese descent, and he was familiar and had studied herbal medication, if you will, Chinese medicine. And he just felt that that was the way for me to go. He knew, and everybody close to me knew that I'm very anti-pharmaceutical, despite the fact that I have doctorate degrees in medicine and pharmacy. But that's probably the reason. I just know way too much about pharmaceuticals. Too many of them have way too many compromising side effects, and I just didn't want to go that route. And of course, that's what all my doctors were recommending. They wanted to put me on antidepressant, mood stabilizers, sedatives. In fact, they gave me the prescriptions, but I just wasn't going to take them. So he suggested some herbs. I went to a store, a market in Irvine, which has a tremendous Asian community. And I met a lady there who said she had been a pharmacist in China, and she suggested uh, a packet that had 5 herbs. And I felt like I didn't have anything to lose. I was in a bad place. I wasn't going to take pharmaceuticals. I was hesitant initially, but eventually I started taking them. And within 3 weeks, my mental energy, my physical energy, my cognition, my focus, my clarity, everything improved. And it improved with a sense of calm. I had all this energy, but I didn't feel jittery, nervous, or anxious. I just felt really good. And and then about 3, 4 weeks later, I started noticing some benefits in my intimate life. And I just felt like at that time I was onto something really good, really special. And so I started studying and researching, utilizing different ingredients and formulating them together. Then I started changing the ingredient combination and the dosages until I was able to achieve what I wanted to achieve um, in terms of what I thought was optimal physical and mental energy, improving mental clarity, focus, and cognition, and doing it all with a sense of calm and mood stabilization. And I also, and of course, the intimate experiences as we continued to learn about these products and add them to the regimen, they were improving pretty dramatically also. So I knew I was onto something very special, but at that time, our formulation was one size fits all.